How am I going to torture myself today? Well, you've already seen the title of the video, so it's pretty obvious. Can you beat Final Fantasy VII using only summons? Now, the smart people know you can't get your first summon until after Midgar. However, there is a glitch that lets you bring materia over to a new game from a previous save. We're not going to be doing that though. One, because I don't know how it works, and two, because I don't want to start with Knights of the Round at the very start of the game. So how are we going to do it? Well, we could just start the run after Midgar since it's basically just a tutorial anyway, but I know people would moan about that. So instead, we're going to start the run after the first reactor mission, where we can actually change and equip materia. And then I'm going to mod in a single Chocobo summon materia. But for now, let's talk rules. Rule 1. I am only allowed to use the summon command in battle. This means no limit breaks, no magic, no items, etc. Rule 2. Any and all materia can be equipped for stats and special effects. For example, W summon is allowed, but rule 1 must be taken into account. Rule number 3, if at any point I cannot summon, for example, no MP, silenced, or ran out of summons, then the fight counts as a game over and I must reload a save. Rule 4, if by some miracle Lucky 7 gets triggered, we will allow that given the slim chance of it ever happening. So the rules are pretty straightforward this time around, but more limiting than you might imagine. For example, no item command means no Chocobo breeding, which in turn means no Knights of the Round, unless I can somehow defeat Ruby Weapon. So let's start by rushing through the first reactor. No grinding allowed. The goal is to just get through it ASAP and get back to Sector 7 so the challenge can actually begin. Also, please don't murder me death for what I named Barret. I do like these little in-house jokes that nobody understands because they aren't in the Discord server and don't watch the streams in turns. Once we get to the bar in Sector 7, I of course name Tifa Boobs because why not? And then we finally get the materia tutorial, which allows us to change materia. This is where I mod in the Chocobo materia and equip it to Cloud. Then I also give him a magic materia for a slight MP boost. As for Barret and Tifa, I just give them whatever so the AP can go towards it and I can sell it later for Gil. But now that we have a problem, I only have one summon materia and can only summon in battle once because of the way summon materia works. For each star it has, that's how many times I can summon in a single fight. And we absolutely won't be able to one-shot bosses with the Chocobo summon. So we're cursed to do some grinding in the train graveyard, healing in the boys' bed when we run out of MP. The highest boss health before leaving Midgar is 2600, which is Motorballer and the elevator bosses combined. So we need to be able to do at least this much damage to even escape Midgar. And the problem, in order to do that much damage, well, here are my levels. Yes, level 40 plus and a mastered Chocobo materia. This gives me a total of 6 summons, each dealing around 600 damage. This means I can do about 3600 damage in a fight. Now, you might see my levels and think overpowered. Wrong. Sure, my survivability is high because of my HP, but at my current damage levels, I can't even beat Genova Birth on the cargo ship heading to Costa del Sol, since that has 4000 HP. In this run, the hardest limiting factor is going to be pure damage, and as I start equipping more and more summons, my HP is going to drastically lower. So you can ignore my level, as in this run it really doesn't mean much. Anyway, we advance on, and before I get to Airbuster, I unequip the second summon materia from Barret so I can give it to Aerith. Very soon, then slaughter Airbuster, but my calculations were way off when it came to my damage. When I was working out, I forgot one simple thing: mob defense. I'd also unequipped the magic materia from Cloud, lowering my magic stat a little more, and because of this, it took me an entire 5 summons to beat Airbuster. We were so close to having to restart, but thankfully he died on my last summon. Then we get Aerith, whose terrible experiences selling her flower in the slums have caused some mental issues, and she legally changed her name to I Die. Kinda ominous, but sure. Apps goes down in 4 summons, but now we have a problem. Reno can trap me in a pyramid. So if he uses that on Cloud, who has my mastered Chocobo materia, I'm seriously screwed since my other summon is only 1 star, so I can only use it once. He starts off with this exact attack by trapping Tifa, but you learn something new every day. When targeting Reno with a summon, it also targets the prison he creates. Never knew that, but he goes down in 2 summons and we move on. In Shinra HQ, I make sure to get the 4-slot armor from the coupon exchange. This way I can equip even more materia for extra magic stat to boost my summon damage a little more. But sadly it doesn't help, and even with 6 summons, I fail to get past the elevator bosses. It took me 5 summons to just get through the first phase, and then I of course did not have enough for the gunner. I need to deal 1600 damage to the gunner and 1000 damage to the Halley gunner, and at 300 damage a summon, that means I need 9 summon attempts to kill this fight, which means I need to reload a save and do some more grinding. So I keep going until I master my 2nd materia, which creates a 3rd, giving me a total now of 11 summons. This absolutely has to be enough for the gunner fight and motorballer later. This now puts my levels at close to 60, but we're not even out of Midgar yet, and I only have 11 weak attacks at most in every fight. I wonder if later bosses, like, I'm just gonna have to stack a bunch of completed Chocobo materials on each character just to even get enough attacks in to win the battles. Not to mention, it's impossible for me to do Wutai with my rules. This means the only way I can heal in fights is with HP absorb materia found in the final dungeon. So later fights are going to be absolutely brutal in terms of just trying to even survive. 2nd attempt goes better and does succeed, but I find it mad that even at my current levels, I'm only doing 400 damage a summon. I think this run is going to get so much harder than I might have realized initially. Rufus, on the other hand, goes down in 1 hit. Now, after a bike chase, it's time for Motorball, who takes huge damage from Chocobos, as I found out. Only reason I can think of is maybe it's weak to wind element. I'm not sure, I've never checked before, but either way, we're out of the city and we have completed the game with only summons. Oh wait, no, wrong game. I forgot this is actually a full game. 1 schizophrenic experience later at Calm, and we can move on. Also, because of my rules, I have 0 chance to catch a Chocobo, as I have no way of killing the mobs without also hitting the Choco. So I just run across the marsh abusing the save and reload trick. Next is Fort Condor, something we absolutely have to do, as the reward for the first fight is a magic comb, a weapon for Red with double AP growth with 3 slots. Now, in a normal run, this is about equal to a 6-slot single growth weapon in terms of AP generation. However, since we can only use summons, this means we want to focus on mastering them ASAP, which means double and triple growth weapons are going to be ideal in this run. Then I'll skip everybody's favorite ninja, since there's not much point to getting her in this run, and head straight to Junon for the next boss, Bottomswell, which goes down in 4 summons. Then we save the little girl, who rewards us with another summon, Shiva, which is great because the next boss is Genova. It's a close one with 11 Chocobo summons and 1 Shiva summon. We only just managed it. I had 3 summons left at the end of the fight, which means even though I get Ifrit now after the Jenova fight, that is still only 13 summons. Not exactly a lot of damage output. I imagine I might have to grind more summon UCs out before I can finish Cosmo Canyon, but that's a last resort. So let's see how things go for now. In Costa del Sol, we buy the villa thanks to our insane grind earlier. I guess hard work does pay off, but then I also buy some platinum bangles, which is armor with double materia growth. At the Gold Saucer, we name Kate Sif Reeve because he's not fooling anybody. Then we have a solo fight of Barret versus Dyne. But I realized once the fight starts, I screwed up. I gave Barret the wrong Chocobo materia. I gave him the almost fresh one instead of the mastered one. This means he can only summon Ifrit and Shiva once, but also Chocobo only once. And Barret is not the best when it comes to magic. Luckily, it was just enough to wiggle out a win, or I'd have been reloading to give him a mastered Chocobo materia. Before the Chocobo race, I make sure to pick up the Ramu materia, another summon, and a missable one at that. Next up though is Gongaga, where we have to fight the Turks. I could go back and grind some Disc 2 mobs in Junon, but for now we're already pretty decently strong and I have 15 summons available to me. So right now I really don't need to grind any more AP. When it comes to fighting Reno and Rude though, I get a surprise. Ramu is actually pretty strong, dealing 1200 damage. This is why I love these challenge runs. They really surprise me sometimes, since whenever I play these games normally, I never really bother with magic or summons, etc. So I always forget how useful they are and how much damage they can actually do. Reno and Rude died, and I grabbed the Titan materia from the destroyed reactor. Next up, Cosmo Canyon. Before the buggy breaks down though, I make a save. If I don't have enough damage for the boss here, I want to be able to go back to Junon to grind AP instead of having to grind inside the cave. Before that though, I do one of the most important things this run, and buy a bunch of HP materia. Now yes, I already have a decent amount of HP, but as we move further on and I start equipping more and more summon materia, my HP is going to drop very low. And with our low defense as well from so many of the later summon materias, the odds of me being one-shot is very high. So we're going to need a ton of HP materia to try and offset that. The downside is I need to level it up right now, which means I have to unequip a bunch of my magic materia, which lowers my magic stat, which in turn means my summons do less damage. Also, in the Cave of the Gear, pick up the added effect materia. Not super important right now, but will be later on. Next boss is Ginatic. He has 5500 HP and is immune to Earth, so our new Titan materia is pointless here, which is kind of annoying, but not much we can do about it. I also actually only just win. We only had a couple of Chocobos left at the end of it, and pretty soon, boss HP is gonna skyrocket once we hit Disc 2 as well. That's where I'm expecting the majority of problems to come into play personally. I figure I'll try Lost Number out to try and get the Odin materia as well, as it would at least make grinding quicker later. But I quickly realize my damage is quite low in this fight, and Lost Number has 7,000 HP. Chocobo does keep him almost completely stunned by a few attacks he gets in, but I burn through my summons and he still doesn't split. So at this point, I'm thinking my damage is just too low for the fight. But then something weird happens, but also very magical. On my absolute last summon attempt, I managed to kill it. Yes, my last summon managed to kill it, which is quite weird. I guess Lost Number only splits into his magic or physical form when hit by those abilities, and summons don't actually trigger the effect, which is pretty weird. You consider they'd make him split into his magic body, but I guess not. I grab Vincent, who I call Subscribe because subliminal messaging works, and then it's on to Mount Nebel, where we have to fight the Materia Keeper, and I don't think I can win this fight. He has more health than Lost Number, and he absorbs fire, making my Ifrit summon useless. And while I did completely forget Odin actually does damage in this game, Keeper also knows Cure 2, making the first attempt a complete loss, sadly. So it's time for a little grind to get some AP for a few more summon uses, and as a bonus, I gain some HP material levels as well. Attempt 2 actually works with the extra summon levels, giving me a few more uses of my more powerful summons, but now I'm predicting big problems in the Temple of the Ancients. Demon Wall has a massive 10,000 HP and hits hard. In Rocket Town, I buy 3 earrings, accessories that when equipped increase my magic by a whole 10 points. Palmer gets isekai'd by TruckCon, surprising nobody. Let's be honest here, we all knew this fight would be a joke. Now, let's get the key from the Gold Saucer. I could go get Kujata right now, but I don't really think it's needed just yet, so I ignore it until we're sent there later. At the Temple of the Ancients, I absolutely make sure to grab the ribbon, then it's time to murder a dragon, which surprisingly goes down much easier than I expected. The extra 10 magic from the earrings is really shining right now. And then as a bonus, we get the Bahamut materia right after the fight as well, just in time for Demon Wall, which goes horribly pear-shaped. All my summons do just a couple hundred damage, other than Bahamut, which deals a massive 4,000, but I can only use that once. Not to mention, Demon Wall easily deals 1,000 damage a hit, and can do that to my whole party at once. And while nobody dies before I run out of summons, I do have just about 1,000 HP left on each character. But again, ran out of summons, so it's game over. At this point, grinding other summons out is going to be useless, so I grind for an extra cast of Bahamut. The good news here is I have a free heal just outside the temple, and the mobs inside give a good amount of AP, with a fight against 3 dragons giving me 240 AP, and on a double AP weapon that becomes 480, meaning it will only take about 50 fights, give or take, to level Bahamut up once. During this process, I also master 2 HP materia and replace them with the newly born versions to work on mastering them as well. With 2 Bahamut casts though, Demon Wall goes down in 2 Bahamuts, 2 Odins, and 2 Ifrits. In Sleeping Forest, I grab the Kujata materia, something we likely won't use much because of its weaknesses, but can potentially be good in some fights. Then we move on to Aerith being stabbed and living up to her namesake before taking on Jenova again. But she goes down in 2 Bahamuts, a Titan, and a Kujata summon. Then it's a sad funeral because apparently everybody forgot about Life Materia and Phoenix Downs. And with that, we're done with Disc 1. Before leaving the Ancient City area, I make sure to grab the Magic Up materia, which will be a very nice boost for our damage. Grab Alexander and the second ribbon, and then it's a fight with Schizo, a freaking nightmare boss in a normal run, typically. It hits like a truck, has plenty of health, and one head is immune to fire damage, while the other is immune to ice damage. This makes our Kujata summon useless as well. Bahamut shines here though, dealing huge damage since it bypasses pretty much everything. Odin is doing okay, but an unexpected shining star here is Alexander, dealing even more damage than Bahamut. Now I'm curious if Schizo is actually weak to Holy. I make sure to grab Neo Bahamut, and then it's a fight with Jenova again, which actually taught me something. Now that I'm getting bigger summons, the MP cost is getting bigger and bigger as well. So now, not only do I need to worry about having enough chances to cast the summons, but also enough MP to use them, as boss HP is getting higher and higher. This time around, it was okay. However, I did burn through all my big summons in the fight, and I was close to needing my smaller, weaker summons. Pretty soon, I might need to start seeing how much damage each summon does and work out a damage to MP cost ratio, just to ensure I have the MP to keep up. But after Jenova dies, I make sure to grab the MP Turbo, because the MP issues I just spoke about are not enough to phase me just yet. Anywho, fast forward a bit past the weapons of mass destruction being born, me being blamed for the impending end of the world, and finding our crazy friend later. We're on to the huge materia, where we can get Phoenix summon at Fort Condor, and because we save Coral, we get the Ultima materia. Sure, we can't use it, but it's a nice magic boost nonetheless. Ultima weapon goes down as you would expect. He heavily damages me a few times and then flies away, and Cloud rejoins the party, so it's off to the underwater reactor, and one of the most hated bosses in the game, Carry Armor. Well, later. Anyway, now that Cloud is back and we have the high wind, I'm going to do something really dumb. I'm going to get W summon from the Gold Saucer, or at least try to anyway. Now, first, we need GP, and normally you'd farm this by Chocobo racing, but I can't capture Chocobos with this rule set, so that's no good. This means it's off to the arcade to play basketball. It's slow until I get the hang of it again, but you can win a maximum of 300 GP from this per game. Or, because I'm so rich, we can just buy GP by entering and exiting the Gold Saucer and buy it from the shady vendor in the alleyway. Then it's off to the battle square, where I quickly realize a problem. My setup is bad. I have no way of winning enough points because of time taken. As soon as I leave the battle square, all of my points are lost. This means I need to do it all in one farm, which means I don't have enough GP for that or MP. So I farm thousands of GP, and I change my materia setup to have Bahamut, Neo Bahamut, and Odin on Cloud, and then go for as many rounds as I can before things get a little risky, where I give up and just take the points. I need a total of 64,000 points to get W Summon. It's a slow process, and by slow, I mean it took the better part of 2 days, one to farm the GP and one to actually do the fight, but in the end, I managed to get enough to buy W Summon. Carry Armor, on the other hand, did huge damage, but W Summon let me kill the claws off quickly, taking out one of the biggest threats in this fight. Daff did nearly die, but it's only Daff, and then it was just a few more summons until it went down. Grab the huge materia, and then it's time to finally unlock Yuffie. That way we can do Wutai, and because we have the high wind now, we can rig what materia she steals, meaning we can actually do that whole side quest and go straight to doing the Pagoda for Leviathan. And because we got the scale in the underwater reactor, we can also get the steal as well materia from here, meaning I can steal while summoning. Something very important for the next area I'm going to go to. In order to do this, we're going to trick her by messing with her priority system. So first head to Fort Condor, and I finally sell my mastered all materia from the early game grinds we did. Then I buy a huge bunch of all materia. Reason being, it has a very high priority on Yuffie's list, so we can actually keep all our other materia as the amount she can take is limited. And if you're confused about why I can buy all the materia from the Fort Condor, the shop changes after you get Cloud back. Once the little side quest with Yuffie and Cornello is done, we get the MP absorbed materia back and then head back into Wutai to the house below Yuffie's that is full of cats, and we get the HP absorbed materia. We finally have healing. I'd actually completely forgot about this HP absorb materia even existing as well. So now it's time to get Leviathan, and this late in the game the pagoda is an absolute joke, so we have no issues there. Then it's off to get Steel as well materia from the Daicho cave. Now when we pair that with a summon, we'll steal at the same time, which is perfect because we're going to Rocket Town next, and Rude has a Zaydreek to steal. It's rare as hell normally, but still worth trying to get. So I pair Steel as well with Odin on Sid and try 4 attempts. All unsuccessful, and then Rude died. I could reload and keep trying for it, but I'm not overly worried about my defense right now, and Zaydreek has no materia slots, which would be quite harmful. Then we grab the huge materia, go to Cosmo Canyon, get Bahamut 0, grab the key for Forgotten Capital, and while we're underwater, I head to the Galnica. We're here for 2 reasons. The first is the Hades summon, and the second is another fight with Rude and Reno. I want those steals ideally, but the main thing is Hades. I managed to get both steals in the fight with them before we take them down somewhat easily. Our damage output now is pretty decent. I think the next problem now will be Hojo, given its 3 forms and my limited amount of high-end summons, but we grab Hades. And then it's time for Diamond Weapon, and this is an interesting fight, as because of our rule set, it means we're going to see Diamond Flash, something I imagine most people have never seen before. Diamond Flash is something that when you use 2 or 3 summons or limit breaks, it will then begin to count down each turn, and at the end uses Diamond Flash, an attack which does 7/8 of our HP and inflicts silence on everybody without protection. Thank God we have 2 ribbons, but has 30,000 HP, so this is going to be interesting. Is what I would have liked to say, but him using countdown seemed to come way later than it should have done, so Diamond Flash was something I didn't have to worry about, even with most of my summons barely dealing around 3,000 damage. In Midgar, I avoid the Turks fight by running next to the pillar in the middle of the screen, so we're on to Proud Clod, where sadly, I lost. I ran out of summons to use, and Sid also ran out of MP. I tried a few different materia combinations using more lower tier summons, etc., but I still wasn't able to do it. So I need to do an AP grind to get some extra summon usages, but this has a downside: my MP limitations. So at this point, I think it's pretty clear I need a big AP grind to get some MP absorbs. The problem here is it's 100,000 AP per absorb mastery. This is going to be a long grind, and I might have gone a little overboard for just the giant mecha, but I also want to beat Hojo, and after Midgar I'm going to be dumb and attempt the weapons. First 2 forms of Hojo go down pretty effortlessly. The 3rd form, however, counters with silence, but a ribbon on on Sid and Cloud makes that a total non-issue. My plans to take on Weapon though are horribly messed up. I set up for Emerald trying to sort my materia out so I only have Bahamut and HP plus, in the hopes he uses Airtam, which he doesn't, so no easy lucky 7s, since that would be half his health gone instantly, but there's no way I can deal another 500,000 damage before he murders me with counterattacks and emerald beams, so I give up on that idea, since Ruby would be even harder. Like, honestly, things like Mime, Knights of the Round, or a Master Summon materia would make these easy, especially Master Summon. That would let me infinitely summon Hades to easily kill Ruby Weapon, which in turn would give me a gold chocobo. But sadly, it just wasn't meant to be. I do kill Ultima Weapon to plan on trying Ruby out, but forgot he's immune to damage the instant the fight starts, so Lucky 7 won't really work there either. So I guess it's time for the final dungeon, and the final fight with Jenova is first. Right after a mob rush. And from this point on, I have no healing, so I have to be careful with MP and with HP, or I'm going to be in trouble later. The mob rush goes okay with MP absorb. My MP is mostly fine. HP is okay as well. Other than Cloud, who's on about 6,000 now. Jenova takes quite a few summons, more than I had originally thought I would need, but is this fight ever actually difficult for anybody? I personally have not, nor do I know anybody who has ever lost this fight, so I think it goes without saying I did use more MP than I would have liked though. However, I'd completely forgot about Sephiroth. Before the fight starts, it puts you in the main menu, so I can heal, since we are not in battle right now and the no item rule isn't in force outside of fights. With that done, it's time for Bizarro. He was unlucky enough to deal no damage to me other than a little bit, but what is the problem is the amount of summons it took. I really hope the summon count resets for safer Sephiroth, as if not, I don't think I'll be able to win with my current loadout. My MP is also diminishing, and MP Absorb is only on Bahamut 0 as well. But now we move on to the main show, and the last time we'll see Bahamut. Sorry, Daff, but I'm going to talk about some of the mechanics for this fight, and I'll also spoil the ending I lost. You see, Sephiroth has 80,000 base HP and gains an extra 30,000 for every character I have at level 99. This means he has 320,000 HP. A huge amount considering I only do 10,000 damage at most per hit, and he likes to start the fight off with barriers. By the time I ran out of summons and MP, I went back through the VOD and added up all of the damage I did to him, and he still has 155,000 HP left, so I only managed to get him down about halfway, but the fight isn't totally over just yet. However, it's going to require one hell of a grind. My biggest problem is lack of MP and lack of summons. So we're going to try and rectify that by grinding out way too many Bahamut Zeros and MP Absorb materia. I also give in and go do the Quadra Magic glitch. This allows me to get Quadra Magic without having a Chocobo, and only requires the high wind. You position yourself above the green grass and go to land, and then force the airship to move further to clip through the ground and put you on the bottom level, allowing you to just walk up to the materia cave. And I grab magic counter from inside a north cave. Now, whenever I get attacked, I should counter with 4 Bahamut Zero summons. And with this combination, I should also have pretty much unlimited MP. So now, the only worry is if I have enough summons to do it, since I have 30 normal summons and 5 summons that are quads, giving me essentially 50 summons per character. Once everything is done and I have no soul left, this is what the results look like. Now, let's try again. And if this doesn't win, then I give up. Also, I'm going to be really evil right now. Daff, while running through this to trim it down, any chance you could count how many Bahamuts were used, please? And hey, you love Bahamut, so it's not that bad, right? For those wondering what real boredom is, by the way, try watching the Bahamut Zero summon animation for over 40 minutes straight. Also, I went way overkill on the grind as well. I didn't need anywhere near this amount of Bahamut Zeros, but hey, close enough, right? In the end, every time he hit somebody, he took 4 Bahamuts to the face. Whenever somebody got a turn, that was 4 Bahamuts to his face. And every time the animation started, I died a little inside. In terms of difficulty now, there really was none. I overgrinded and went with the most OP combination I had access to. And honestly, I bet this could beat Emerald Weapon if I had the underwater materia. But I don't and can't get it without Morph. So sadly, we can't do that since the time limit would run out. Now, for the ultimate question though, can you beat Final Fantasy VII using only summons? Well, yes, if you cheat and give yourself a summon in Midgar. Or, if you start this run after Midgar, then yes, it's possible. Should you do it? Hell no! Unless you want to waste a few hundred hours. And now, because of this video, I don't know if I can keep up with my weekly challenges anymore. This ate into my schedule massively. Now, while you're commenting down below as well about what video you want to see me make next, just remember to smash that like button and help me grind to 10,000 followers over on Twitter. We can break games, but can we break social media? Let's find out. And of course, a big thank you to the lovely Nafshu for editing this video. All her links are down in the description. Go check her out. And if you want to see more like it, then check the pinned comment with a link to the playlist and some other goodies you should check out, like Patreon for early access on my videos, or become a YouTube member for early access as well. And likewise, join the Discord server. I'm always in there, so feel free to come and say hello or just bully me like everybody else in there does. Until next time, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.